I'm here today with Rasheedah Saleem Muhammad. What does today's event mean in the realm of autism?
Today is a historical event in the city of Newark, and Onika and our goal is to bring that urban awareness to the field of autism. You don't have to know someone with autism to attend this event. It's to bring awareness and to let the community know that we care, we're doing something about it.
I find that in the African American community it's something that it goes untalked about. And why do you think that's so?
A lot of times it's misdiagnosed in the African American community. It's denial. It's definitely denial, like, oh, okay, no, he's just a slow talker, slow walker and stuff, and we'll just wait a little bit. But early detection is very important, and that early intervention piece is so essential. So yes, definitely we have to go to our doctor's appointments. We have to tell these physicians, no, that my son is not doing this and this. Right, so as a parent, we need to speak up for our kids and just not take no for an answer. We need to attend support groups, and we need to talk to others. And we definitely have a new support group right here in the city of Newark, Mom to Mom.
So it seems to me that you and Onika have become the Pied Pipers of the urban autism situation here. How did you become so passionate about this?
Because I teach individuals with autism, and I just feel as though they are the voices that oftentimes go unheard. I consider Onika and myself as autism warriors. You know, we're there for the fight. We're there for the fight. We're there to bring back that information and share with our parents. And we just want to bring awareness into our African American community.
And I understand too that you've had the opportunity to make acquaintance with Holly Robinson Pete, who has become a real advocate for autism as well, because her son, I know, has been affected with autism. Can you speak to having met her, and maybe how she's even been an inspiration to help you to continue to do what you're doing?
Yes, Onika and I had the pleasure of meeting Holly Robinson Pete through our travels. We travel on a weekend to promote autism awareness. And we had the pleasure of meeting Holly Robinson Pete and her husband in Baltimore, Maryland. And we also had the pleasure of meeting her in Tampa, Florida.
Statistics tell us that 1 out of every 110 children are born with autistic spectrum disorder, also known as ASD. 1 in 90 boys are born affected by ASD. However, in New Jersey, it has one of the highest rates of children born with ASD, and 1 in 60 boys in the state of New Jersey are born with ASD. Monmouth County has one of the highest rates of autistic children. So I'm Gilda Rogers, and I'd like to welcome all of you to Frank Talk. Today I've assembled a panel of guests who will shed some insight into ASD, which families and children across this nation, and especially here in New Jersey, are grappling with. I understand that you just got involved with Mom to Mom?
Yes.
A program that's run out of UMDNJ. Would you tell everybody what that is about? Because I understand that that's a great resource.
Mom to Mom. Yes, Mom to Mom is the wonderful brainchild of the program director, Cherie Castellano. And Cherie has actually started off 10 years ago with a program called Cop to Cop, and then 7 years ago with a program called Vet to Vet, which is a peer support helpline. Cherie is not just a mental health professional, but the mother of a child with a disability, as well as the wife of a police officer. And she realized that the resource that she provided for the community through Vet to Vet and Cop to Cop is a resource that we've been living every day in our experiences as mothers of children with disabilities. So what Cherie did, she talked to a panel of individuals, and we came together and we said, yes, if we are doing this arbitrarily and involuntarily, why not provide this as a service to the community? And we started basically out of UMDNJ, the University Behavioral Health Care Center out of Piscataway, which is where our call center is located, soon to be a call center in Newark, also at University Behavioral Health Care Center. And we take phone calls from a 1-800, actually it's a 877-914-MOM2. That's the number.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes, 877-914-MOM2, which is also 877-914-6662. When you call the helpline, you not only talk to peers, and I'm a volunteer peer support counselor there, you talk to peers who've lived your life, who've walked in your place, who've walked in your shoes, who can sympathize and empathize with some of your situations and your conditions. And primarily, it's not necessarily just that resource for mothers to talk about the issues related to their children. But what we found is that we give so much to our children in advocacy and to our families that we don't have a whole lot left for ourselves. So it's a mental health initiative for mothers. And when the callers call in, we love to hear about the situations that they're going through with their children and the stumbling blocks that they sometimes meet. We love to give resources and provide that help. But what we love even more is to say, how was your day? How are you doing? You know, has someone said that I love you to you today? We love you, and love yourself, and that's important. Have you read a good book lately? What have you watched on television? Have you tried the yoga classes in your community? We try to provide all of those types of resources to the moms because it's really important for moms to understand that unless we're running at 100% or even 50%, it's hard to give the resources and give of ourselves when we have not a whole lot left. So Mom to Mom is a help support line, and we also have support groups throughout Essex County right now. It is a New Jersey-wide initiative, and primarily we have taken well over 300 calls, and we have well over 300 cases where there are mothers who do call in and say, thank you, I'm glad you're here. And it's not just the helpline where you just call us and we talk to you and you're just a number. We actually call you back.
Can they call there for any specific resources and you can connect them if they're dealing with a particular issue?
Yes, actually specifically for mothers of children with disabilities, but the issues are not limited to just your child with a disability. For instance, if a mom calls in and says, I don't have heat in my home and I don't know what to do. If a mom calls in and says, I think I'm going to be evicted. So we will, if we cannot find them resources within our database, we will provide them with an extension. And we have a great relationship also with Autism New Jersey.
How do you interact and connect with students on the spectrum, being that some are more cognitively developed than others? How, as an educator, are you able to reach those students?
First, I would like to say that I learn just as much from my students as my students learn from me. And sometimes, and I always put the analogy into place with Charlie Brown, that sometimes when we're talking to individuals with autism, it's like sometimes they're hearing want, 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 want. So I sort of relate to my students, and first of all, you have to have that passion. You have to have that passion, you have to understand. Usually when I tell individuals that I teach individuals with autism, the first response I get is sort of like sympathy or some type of empathy. Oh wow, how can you do that? Wow, you have to have a lot of patience. But you have to have patience for anything you do. You have to have patience for anything you do. And one thing in my classroom is that I teach my students that there's no difference between us and anyone else. So the passion comes to place, and I empathize with them just as well. I have them to interact. They learn from each other. They don't know that there's nothing wrong with them. And I place the child first, not the label. If you enter into my classroom, it's set up just like a regular ed classroom setting. If you walked in there, you could not tell that they were individuals with special needs. And the environment in that classroom is like a safe haven. for them. We're following the core curriculum content standards, so they're doing other things that other second and third graders are doing. So it's not, okay, well, I have empathy for them because they have special needs. No, I tell her, you know, their special needs, and I put my lesson plan so that it fits their needs opposed to my needs. So if I'm giving my kids an assignment and all of them get the assignment wrong, I don't chastise them or I don't make them feel bad. It comes back to me. So I need to revise my lesson plans, I need to modify, I need to adapt, I need to bring more visual aids. But definitely it starts with that passion.
And I'd like to say in my own educational process in learning about autism that I was watching a show the other night and the woman said that we're talking about all of these children who are born autistic, but they grow up to be adults. These children grow up to be adults. So my question is, as a parent, Valerie, of an adult child that was born autistic, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? And I know that your son was born in 1982, when we didn't hear too much about autism, and I think it was probably in the dark, and now it's come to the light. So I want to know from you, what are some of the challenges that you faced, and right now, with your son being an adult, still, what are those challenges that you're facing?
Hi everybody, thank you for coming and thank you for having me, excuse me. I'm excited about being here today because, and even as we were speaking today, when both of the ladies were making their presentations, we're talking about children with autism. And with respect to education to the public, the average public person still perceives autism being associated with children. And I represent the population of children who have grown up. My son is 31 years old and he is an adult living with autism. And the transition from getting him from being a child living with autism to an adult living with autism has been a very interesting challenge. And in December of last year, my partner of 38 years, his dad, who has always been a part of my son's development and helping me figure out how to handle and manage him when there were no resources. And with the correction, my son was born in 1980. And I couldn't even pronounce autism, let alone understood what it meant. And so you could only imagine what it was like trying to negotiate and understand that disorder back in 1980 versus all the various resources that are available now. In hindsight, what I did not do is I did not prepare myself to fully understand the impact of what was not going to be available to my son after he aged out of the system. And what I'm hoping to do, over the next couple of years is to be the advocate for the population of parents whose children are aging out of these services. I think that after raising a son with autism for 31 years, that I have a lot of information to share. There's some areas and stuff that I've already experienced. Our children are autistic, but they still have sexuality issues that have to be addressed. Our children are autistic, but they still want friends. Our children are autistic, but I have to make a decision about my son if something happens to me. My husband is deceased now. What's going to happen to my baby if something happens to me? My son is 31 years old, and he did not have any speech, and I got my son to the point that he was functional. He went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, got into there through regular admission. He clocked a perfect score on the math section of the SAT. He got admitted into the United States Navy and was selected to be a Marine Corps candidate. But the various components of his autism eventually caught up with him, and he wasn't able to manage through those systems as he stayed in it over an extended period of time. But my point is that our children do have the ability to contribute to this society, and they deserve to be given some consideration without automatically assuming that they have to go on the disability rolls.
Safiyyah, would you be able to chime in and talk about maybe some resources that might be available? I know you do have a child that has autism as well. Yes. So maybe, and I know we talked earlier, Valerie, about job coaching for someone like Valerie to be able to access so that he would be able to go out with a coach. But from your own experience, what are some of the resources that you can tell us about today?
Well, one of the audience members mentioned DVR, and I've never used the alphabet so much until I've come into the world of disabilities, and there's so many acronyms and myriad of acronyms, and DVR stands for Division of Vocational Resources. Okay, and then there's DDD, the Division of Developmental Disabilities, and then there's the DDC, which is the Division Developmental Disability Council. And actually, one of my greatest resources came from the DDC, which is a program called Partners in Policymaking. Partners in Policymaking is through the Developmental Disabilities Council through the state of New Jersey. And it's a program that takes either parents or caregivers of individuals with disabilities or self-advocates, which is a person who is an adult with disabilities. And we come together once a month, 1 week in a month in Trenton, at the Trenton Marriott actually, and we come there from Saturday afternoon till Sunday afternoon for training, for workshops. We have to bunk with one another, and it's the most wonderful experience when I, a mother of a child with disability, am sharing a room with an individual, an adult with disabilities, and that adult may need a personal assistant or may not. They may have cerebral palsy, they may have autism. There's just so many disabilities to put on the table, so to speak. But the wonderful thing about that is that it opened me up to so many resources in the state of New Jersey that I had no idea they were available. I had no idea how many agencies are right here in the state of New Jersey that impact the lives of people with disabilities. I had no idea that there were so many advocacy networks and advocacy organizations right here
I'm sorry,
in the state of New Jersey.
But they're too buried, and that's my point. They're too buried.
Transparency is a big issue.
They're too buried. When you're dealing with children with autism, and I think you mentioned earlier, nobody really takes into consideration the emotional toll that we as parents have gone through. I can't even begin to tell you how my life has been significantly altered raising a son with autism. I can't move any place unless I'm on a bus line. So if I decide that I want to move down to Red Bank, every place I go I have to take into consideration whether or not, because my son cannot drive. So that's my particular challenge, but there are other parents and stuff that have so many challenges. The autism may be coupled with ADD, it may be coupled with depression, so we're dealing with multi-level issues with our children, and we don't have time to negotiate all these complicated processes.
So Valerie, let me interrupt you and ask you then, what would you, if you could design your plan or what the government or what New Jersey should be doing, what would you like to see rolled out in regard to resources that Safiyyah is talking about, because you're saying they're too buried. So how do you think it should be? Should it be like one place you can go to and...
Because I'm very new at really understanding that, you know, my son is going to have some issues regarding resources. I hope that I can actually answer this for you, because I'm not really clear. But the most immediate thing I could say is that I don't think the connection should stop with the school district. If the school district is the institution that have had our children for 12 years, you have their placements, you have their records, then once they graduate at age 18, that organization should be the ones that is providing the transition with something more than a diploma. Okay, you're finished. And maybe because that institution is the place, you know, that has the most resources, that we can, you know, not cut those resources off, but begin to transition or provide some services there, you know, via counseling, job coaches, you know, some of the other comments I was making. I really don't know, because as I said, I haven't had a chance to really think about it, because I'm just emerging, you know, from out of the dark, saying, oh my goodness, you know, I have to now advocate for my son in a whole different manner. So I don't know what it is, but I know but as a parent, I know that it doesn't exist.
Okay, Rasheedah.
I would just like to say this. I'm sitting here and I'm listening listening to Valerie, and your son is 31 years old, and I'm thinking that, you know, autism didn't get this much attention a generation ago. Okay, it was just like, okay, something's wrong with Bobby, and that's it, and place him in an institution. But in 2011, we're moving forward, but kind of behind time just as well. Because as an educator, we teach our children to succeed. We teach them on an academic level, on a personal level, and we definitely want them to prosper. But at the same token, the parents, they have to demand other than the basics. And we all know about faith. Everyone is entitled to a free, appropriate public education. But when we're dealing with individuals with special needs, we have to talk about the intensity. We have to hold people accountable. And you know, and we teach our kids, and then once they leave us, that's it. But some of our kids are functioning above a door greeter's level. And so, you know, Sophia and I, we discuss this all the time. What about our individuals who have Asperger's? You know, and no disrespect to any of the large corporations that's hiring our individuals with special needs, but some of our children are really computer inclined. Some of them can draw, sing, write. So at the same token, if as an educator and as a parent, if we work together, you mean to tell me the only thing society has to offer for my child is to be a door greeter?
Now, my son went from kindergarten through 12th grade with perfect attendance. He never missed a day of school. With all of his issues and stuff, I sent him to school every single day. He had perfect attendance at his work. So if you have a child that has perfect attendance and has never been out, wouldn't that person be a good candidate for employment? I'd like to hire him.
Tell me about, first of all, I know that you're an author, so tell me about you have 2 books out now, right?
Yes, My Friend Michael was released this week, and it's a part of the Page Road collection, just bringing that awareness into the community. Anyone from the age 5 to 105 can read it, understand it, and it's real informative. And I also put some important information too for educators, like different activities they can do to help their students.
And so my last question to you is, if someone wanted to purchase your books, can they go online to get them, or do you have a website where they might be able to go to get more information about the books or things that you and Anika might be doing?
Yes, we have a website, which is www.pagerofriends.com, and under this website we have the Kino production apparel wear, because yes, we do have t-shirts and different apparels ranging from children to adults, and the website is really good. We update it a lot and stuff, and we try to present information that's essential to the community.
Hi, I'm here today with Anika Johnson at the Paul Robeson Campus Center at Rutgers University. So Anika, I'd like to ask you, because you founded Akino, right?
That is correct. Yes, I did. Akino stands for A Kid in Need of an Opportunity.
Okay, tell me, how long has Akino been in existence?
It's actually been in existence since November of 2010.
And what is your overall hope for the future for Akino? If you could name like one thing that you would like to accomplish having founded this organization that is really needed, what would it be?
I would like for the parents to walk out with some hope and to know that we are here for them with the resources. There are several resources that are going to be provided mom to moms, and let them know that we're here for them if needed be. I also want to let them know that there's going to be scholarships for the kids on an ongoing basis. This is an annual thing. We're going to have something next year, and just to let them know that there is hope in the urban community, in our community. I don't want anyone to think that we're not here for them, but we are here for them.